5.
This is an amazing statistic. 15,000 gallons of rainwater is the average amount that a Scottish home has to cope with over a year, so it's no surprise that damp can be a problem, but it doesn't always come from the roof down, it can come from the ground up, and the man that knows all about that is Les Meikle, Managing Director of Wise Property Care. Morning, Les.
Morning, Fred.
Welcome to the programme. How are you?
I'm fantastic, thanks.
Nice and dry?
Yes, I am.
Good man. We've had, well, two things. I mean, I've had an incident where the ventilation in our house got kind of stuffed up, and that caused a lot of condensation.
Yes.
So that's a source of damp as well. But the rainwater, the water ingress is another, and then you've got the water rising up through the walls as well. Is that something that you see mainly in old houses, Les?
Well, you find that particularly condensation in any type of property, old or new, but certainly the older properties that have been sealed up with double glazing and sealing up the chimneys and so forth make them more prone to condensation than perhaps they were in days gone by.
And even in new buildings that you go by and see them actually, you know, there's always vents, a lot of vents in the walls.
Yes.
Because a house has to have a throughput of air, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, people don't appreciate that they can create up to 26 pints of water just via cooking and bathing and showering during the day. Now, 26 pints is a lot of water to try and get out of that property again. So you do need good ventilation, whether it's passive or active, using humidistat controlled vents and things like that.
So, short of seeing the wallpaper peeling off the wall, how can people identify damp in their house, Les?
Well, the most common thing is you see black spots, maybe in the cold corners at low level and high level. And this mould is what gives the characteristic smell of condensation, that musty, mouldy smell that you tend to get. And particularly in wardrobes, you open up a wardrobe, you get that smell. You might get some mould in the clothes or behind the clothes on the outside walls. So it's really that musty smell that once you've not been in a room for a few hours, you go into it. And that's the first thing that hits you as you go in.
Okay. And what about the stuff coming up from, you know, from the ground up?
Well, the rising damp, again, mostly affects the older properties, but it's something that can be cured quite easily by the insertion of a chemical damp-proof course. And we find quite a lot of that in Scotland, obviously, with the amount of groundwater that we have. And the older buildings that we have so many of, these damp-proof courses can break down after some time, and it just allows water to rise through the cracks and fissures in these old damp-proof courses.
How long does a damp-proof course last for? Because I know that they say guarantees for 25 years. I got one in my not the current house, but the previous one, and I think about 10 years later, you know, I had to go back and get it redone again. First company went out of business. Usually
they should last for in excess of 20 years. Once the chemicals are put in the wall, there's very little to affect them once they're in there. So while a guarantee may be said to last for 20 years or more, it really should last the lifetime of the house. And it may just have been it wasn't put in correctly initially that caused it to break down after the 10 years.
So a lot of people, Les, that contact your company really panic. They just think this is it, you know, the house is in a really bad state of disrepair and it's going to cost me a fortune or I'm going to have to move. I mean, it must be a nice reassurance to know that it's fixable and it's, you know, it's not going to burst the bank, but it can be pricey, yeah?
Some of it can be pricey. We have had instances where people are in tears talking to us about putting their foot through the floor. They've just bought the house, they've lifted some boards to put in some central heating and the floor joists below are rotten and so forth. And some of that can be quite expensive, but a normal damp-proof course in existing walls doesn't have to be that expensive.
And it would be, you know, and I've talked about this in the past, you know, when we had a mouse that one of the cats brought in and it died behind the skirtings or in the wainscot or something, and you get horrible stench with that.
Yeah.
Which initially we thought, oh, this is damp. So, I mean, occasionally there must be cases where you go in and you just kind of go, no, it's okay, you've just got a dead mouse.
Well, that's it. I mean, we can carry out a full survey and we go under floors and up in the roofs and so forth to have a good look at a property. So usually we can determine fairly accurately just what exactly the issue is in the property.
All right. And does it take long to treat?
Usually most works can be done within a week to a fortnight.
That's good news.
Redecorating all around.
Just the walls that are really affected, to be perfectly honest.
And do the frosty conditions that we've had, are they likely to cause any lasting problems to people's homes?
Well, I would think so. We get visits to our website, and our visits to our condensation and damp website over the last 3 months has increased by over 100%. So
Right.
I think over this last cold, wet spell, there's been a lot of people experiencing issues and getting on the phone or on the website to ourselves.
Les from Wise Property Care, thank you very much for coming in, and good advice for our listeners there. Thanks a lot. Good to see you.
Thanks very much.
We go